Hello, so today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my sustainability project. I decided to do the carbon footprint calculator over the course of the week, and my objective in doing this experiment was to find out whether converting from pescatarian to vegan would have an impact on my carbon footprint. And so the reason for doing this specifically is because I always hear about how much of an impact farming has on the environment. So I already knew that from going from a heavy meat eater to going to vegetarian was going to make a big impact. I hear about how much CO2 that cows cause. I know that clearing forests has a negative impact on the environment, but I really didn't know very much about the benefits of eliminating fish. So those are my reasons for choosing this. And so my hypothesis for this was that um, going vegan will eliminate zero point 0.1 metric tons per year off my carbon footprint. And so, in order to conduct this experiment, I did go ahead and go vegan. And to make it simpler for myself, I did have pretty much the same eating patterns every day because it was for such a short time. So, in the morning, I would eat oatmeal. Lunch, I ate some type of stir fry with a non animal protein, so a plant-based protein, which was either tofu or a Gardein product, which I'll have pictures of later on. And then for dinner, I fortunately live with people that are largely vegetarian for the most part, just kind of by coincidence. And so if there was meat, I could just choose not to eat it and eat the rest of the meal, which was typically vegetable based. But I did often also order out a few times so I could eat at Chipotle and be vegan there, or order food from a Korean restaurant and also still be vegan as well. So my outcome for this experiment, so I began the experiment with about 0.04 to zero point 0.05 daily carbon footprint, which went into 0.33 for a week and 16.67 per year. And so after going vegan and measuring that, I ended up with 0.05, and my daily was 0.32 for the week and a total of 15.88 for the entire year. So that's 16.67 to 15.88, which means that my prediction of point 0.1 being the difference that going pescatarian to vegan would make was actually false. It was actually much more than that. So that was pretty exciting to find out. So ultimately, my thoughts on the experience, it was very difficult, a lot more difficult than I was expecting. I've gone vegan before, I've been vegan before, but I think because of the time of stress that we're in right now, it was very difficult, but also more motivating because when I am on the internet, I hear about how the next 3 out of 4 pandemics are going to be caused by our consumption of animals and our close proximity to them. I did a case study on how the clearing of forest makes us more susceptible to zoonotic diseases. And so as I learned about these things, it is easier to be motivated to do it, but it's still very difficult to focus on making these decisions to be vegan at every single meal. But it's also very empowering to have the opportunity to practice activism every time you sit down for a meal. So the learning objective that I tried to utilize was critical thinking and the scientific method. So I did formulate a hypothesis for this experiment, and I did conclude with seeing if that was actually true. And I try to think about this from a scientific basis, but also from a critical thinking perspective. There's so much information about diet, about environmental sustainability, that it can be very difficult to filter through what's going to be the best move in your personal life. But what I found through looking at my results is that your diet really truly does make a difference. And at this point, I feel more motivated to try to make other changes because it's just easier to see, the effects you're making when you put it into a calculator versus just kind of assuming that what you're doing is actually making an impact. And so that's one major takeaway for me for this experiment and this whole experience is that, you have the tools to be able to see if what you're doing really matters, and you can see it on paper and you don't have to guess about it. And so that has been a very fascinating experience.